Okay, so starting here, this is where right after you log in, this is the first view you see.
Where do you log in? I'm sorry, Steve. I'm going to interrupt you already.
I just, ironically, Google Bing Webmaster Tools.
Okay.
I think it's like bing.com/webmaster/toolbox or something along those lines.
Okay.
But yeah, I just Google it to find it.
Okay.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so this is what you see when you first log in. It gives you a very high-level view of the list of sites you have in it. List of site dashboards, number of messages, change in clicks from search. So clicks from search are up 20% for Everspark Interactive, but down 5% for Case2. Appeared in search, how many times you appeared in search, pages crawled, and pages indexed. But of course, the good information happens once you select a website. Now it gives you more information, so it's showing 48 clicks from search this period, 40 from last period, and it gives a trend for you down right here. Same for appeared in search, pages crawled, crawl errors, so we have an increase in crawl errors according to Ping, but we also have an increase in pages indexed.
I'm going to mute your Skype or do not disturb it. How long is the typical period? Is it like?
Pretty sure it's 30 days. Yes, 30 days. So you can change the period. All right. It gives you the list of sitemaps you have submitted, the search keywords, some of the ones you're showing up for. One of the top ones you're showing up for is this combination, domain age, Google PageRank, and Alexa rank, and each of those in quotes. So it's long tail stuff where you are showing up for stuff. And it also shows the links that it's aware of over here. But even this is pretty high level, so to get deeper, you would go through the list on this side. So for configure my site, this is a bunch of stuff you can do to adjust how you appear in their searches. Sitemaps, much like Google, you can submit a sitemap, and from that sitemap, Google will try to index as many of those pages as possible.
Bing will.
I have to get used to that.
Yeah.
Bing will index as many pages as possible. So very similar to Google. Same idea, you submit a sitemap, it crawls it.
Okay.
Submit URLs is the same thing, except you don't have to do it through a sitemap format. You can just give it a list of URLs, it will crawl those URLs. You can see that there is a limit, though. You can do 10 more today, 50 more this month.
So that's kind of like the same thing with Google does.
Right. The fetch as Google. It's very similar to the fetch as Google. Ignore URL parameters. Google has this feature as well. You put in parameters that you don't want it to count as changing the page, so that it's the tracking parameter, for example. You would put that in here, and you could tell it to explicitly ignore parameters.
Just like demoting links.
Not quite. This is to avoid duplicate content. So if you have the homepage URL and the homepage URL with campaign equals, and you're tracking that as a separate campaign, maybe you set that over email, so campaign equals email.
Oh, gotcha.
To make sure that doesn't count as a separate URL, you can put in campaign as a parameter for Bing to ignore, and it will treat them as the same URL.
Is that something you can do with that robot that you were talking about on your actual site, or is this kind of just something you do in tandem with that, or?
You would do a canonical tag on the site in order to tell all search engines that the official version of this page is this URL. Any links to any version of this page that comes up with this canonical tag should count as links to the real URL.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can do that or this, or even both to be completely safe.
Okay. Is it kind of recommended to do both? Because then, I mean, obviously, then you're going each of these webmaster tools, Bing, Yahoo, Google, as well as doing the tag.
Yahoo is now Bing results, so you wouldn't have to do Yahoo, so you would just do Google and Bing. But yes, the ideal method would be to put a canonical tag in and put them in here just to be extra safe.
Okay, cool.
Crawl control, you can actually control the rate at which Bing crawls your site at different times of the day. So you can tell it to crawl more at night than during the day, so that your users aren't impacted, but then Bing can crawl really heavily at night. So
That's what you'd recommend? So my first thought was to have it crawl during the day. Right when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, well I'll just adjust it to where it's going to be crawled during the day. Because I might be adding content or whatever, or people might be active on the website, but
For a small site, I mean, it's not really going to make too much of a difference. If you've got a site that has hundreds of thousands of pages, you know,
right.
you probably don't want it crawling in the middle of the day because it might bring your server speed down, and you know, so you do it at night when nobody's really using it.
Yep.
Okay.
if you've got a pretty small website, it probably doesn't matter. You can just leave it flat
Yeah.
anyway.
We're just cranking it all the way up
Yeah.
on all of them.
Always go faster.
That's funny.
There we
That's
go.
kind of cool though.
That's
Does Google have something like that?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay.
Deep links is not what you think. This is actually, you can block URLs and links. So you can pick a particular link to block. So URL, blocked on URL, country, region, days to expire, things like that. So you can actually block pages from Bing.
We don't want anybody in the Philippines to visit this URL from this time frame. You can kind of set it like that. Is that what you're saying?
So what would it come up as if like people from the Philippines try to like go there?
They're just
Well, you can't stop them from going to the URL, but it wouldn't show up in search anymore.
Okay.
In fact, the next several pages are very much the same kind of thing. So this is, you can block a page or a directory and tell it to block a single URL or an entire directory of URLs.
Is that like a miniature version of a disavow?
This is for your own URLs, though.
But
So like URLs in your own site.
I get confused with the directory then. My first thought was, oh, I want to block a bad directory.
no. Directory is just like it's a folder. So like on
Yeah.
the URL parameter, it's Everspark Interactive /services.
Right.
You know, we
Right.
don't want them to crawl our services search.
Okay.
Yep, so this is specifically for blocking URLs on your existing site.
The word directory is confusing.
It's often called a subdirectory or a subfolder. They're all pretty much synonymous.
Yeah.
Page preview is neat because you can put in a URL and it will fetch it. Just like, but again, you can, this is more so that you can see what it does and then block it if you don't like it. So you can block the page preview. So there's a lot more in Bing than there is in Google.
It looks really easy to use too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very straightforward. Now this is the disavow.
Okay.
And this is where you would disavow for a page, directory, or full domain.
Okay.
And it's, you put in a URL, puts in a list. You don't have to follow it, like you don't have to put it in some sort of text format or anything like that, like you do for Google. You just put the URLs that you don't want to count anymore in this list.
You can't upload a Excel file spreadsheet.
It doesn't appear so.
Pretty manual process, huh?
Yeah, it would be a fairly manual process. So easier to use if you're doing 3 or 4, but would it be difficult to use if you have to disavow 5,000? Yeah.
New website done.
Yeah, perhaps.
That's interesting.
But this is available a long time before Google's disavow was.
Okay.
Geotargeting, you can specifically label individual pages as for a particular region. And that's similar to, you can put tags on the site itself to do the same thing, or you can do it URL by URL or directory, subdomain, domain, or page in this view. So either you do it on the site through tags, or you use this in order to tell it manually, here are all the URLs, here's the region they're after. So for example, we could do domain.
Afghanistan.
Yes, we're definitely after Afghanistan. The United States, and we could submit that, and then it would know that everything we're doing is targeting towards the United States. I don't know if we want to restrict it to that right now, so I'm not going to, but that's the idea.
So we just restrict it to that particular country for a search,
Yeah.
and that's it.
So what you could do for that is you could have a separate domain entirely that is the Spanish version, targeted towards Spain or Mexico, and have that separate site works that way. Or you could have it so that a subdomain, so it's es.eversparkinteractive.com. Or you could have it be a directory, so it's eversparkinteractive.com/es/, and say that's the Spanish version for Mexico.
You do that with the alt-line tags in
Right.
combination with it.
Mm-hmm. The idea is that you could do one or the other, but since you want it to work in Google too, you probably use the alt-line tags. Next is here's a couple of different ways you can verify ownership. We're already verified, so we're good. Connected pages, you can actually explicitly tell Bing what your Facebook URL is, Twitter URL is, LinkedIn URL is, etc., so on.
How many? That's pretty telling. Right, if they've got a list there of the important ones, so I'd probably encourage everybody to make sure you have an account. WindowsPhone.com. I guess can you have a profile there or something?
So if
You probably have to have a developer profile, which might mean you have to get a little bit more involved than just creating a profile.
I got
So
it.
maybe some of these don't apply to everyone.
I see.
Like this one is for if you actually have an app for sale
I see.
in Google,
Okay.
but most of them apply to everyone. So
Microsoft doesn't have a social network, right? Like Google has
Facebook.
Google Plus. They partner with Facebook, so it is coming up on their next search
It's
results.
their biggest
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Okay.
So if you don't already have social buttons on your site, or if you do, I mean, is this connected or
So you have the links out on your website. This is just another way to tell Bing that you are associated with these profiles.
I wonder if you direct search on Bing, would it pop up, the different icons next to it?
big on social?
Depends on what you have there.
Facebook really is their biggest.
But I mean, like when you do a direct search, does it typically, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook?
I know Facebook results will come up sometimes. Interesting. Popular now. Stolen plane DUI.
Foreign plane DUI.
That's awesome.
Wow.
All right then.
That's like movie quality stuff. That's like the next hang-up for movie.
There's some stuff there on the right, right?
Connect with Facebook. Some Twitter information here.
Yeah.
Okay, you can actually connect with Facebook and see what your friends, see your friends have been talking about
Do a
that.
search for Coca-Cola.
I took off and landed several times.
All right, so you got the related searches, apply for a job. Scroll down a little bit. They have their Facebook. There it is.
There it is, Twitter.
So they're showing their Twitter feed.
Interesting that that comes up.
That is cool.
Super cool.
Yep.
And I noticed that they're local. I mean, I'm sure it's probably the same principle.
Yeah, there is a separate local directory you have to submit yourself into
Oh, wow.
for Bing in order to show up in Bing local.
I think I like it better than the Google one, please.
I do too. I think it provides, I don't say more information, but more information that I'm interested in, right? Rather than like 10 search results. I'd like to see 5 or 6 search results and then kind of other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
A room full of people just adopt.
A lot of split tests have been done, and what it seems to be is that people prefer the results of Google over the results of Bing, but then Bing gives a bunch of extra information, and some people like the extra information that Bing provides.
Were you one of those people on the commercial?
I was going to say, what? Commercials don't tell me that.
Well, those commercials were, they can't show all of the extra information Bing provides because it was comparing the results, and in order to try to make it blind, you had to make them look the same.
Exactly, yeah.
So they had to strip out a lot of their extra stuff.
Yeah.
And they were claiming on the commercial that people would choose Bing more often than Google,
Yeah.
but actual tests done outside of the one done by Microsoft showed the opposite.
That was conducted and paid for by Google.
Right.
Can you do just like a generic search? I'm curious what would come up.
The generic search.
Yeah, not for a big name like Coca-Cola, but you know, bicycles.
Bikes Direct.
Bikes for sale,
Bike stores.
Scroll down. Blogging.
the latest blog about bicycles is in November. Yeah,
It looks like they're pulling from Quora. Is that how you
Quora,
pronounce
yeah.
it? Yeah, that's the question and answer site.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably another site that we should be leveraging for our
yeah.
you know, have our
We used to,
Really?
Started doing it, yeah.
Looking at that today.
there's not a lot of real estate for what we're trying to do, so it's hard to reach. But if you have a wide enough audience, it's good. I mean, it definitely gets you seen.
And so, in many ways, I think Google and Bing have very similar results.
It's because you're logged in that, you know, some of these Atlanta bicycle companies are coming up before like Walmart and stuff, right?
or is IP.
Well, no, it's the IP address.
IP that they're trying.
Because like I think this is like the third time I've ever logged into this account, so there is no history.
Right.
So it's based on IP address.
Okay.
That's kind of the thing is Google wants to make sure that the most likely places that you want to look for a bicycle would show up, whereas Bing I think wants to be more novel and show you more stuff that would be more interesting to your specific location and things like that. Google's trying to do a balance between the two, and I think Bing is more focused on leaning more towards being novel. As
I mean,
opposed to Bing.
you've got Overstock and Bikes Direct, and you got a mix here too, though.
Those are paid.
The top.
This very top one is
Not top one, but underneath.
Yeah,
it's not.
Overstock is the first one. Yeah.
Overstock's number 1, Bikes Direct's number 2, and if you look on the right, Republic Bike. Are those ads related to bicycles? Those
These are
are
ads.
paid, okay.
Yeah.
And further down,
And Walmart's way down here.
Cannondale, Schwinn,
And then Roswell.
Walmart. Yeah,
This
and
is local.
Diamondback. Yeah, I mean, you got a mix.
Yep.
Could you search what is a scraper site just to see if they have the same?
We can almost do a side-by-side comparison, can't we? Just
Oh,
put a
no,
Google,
not.
do the same thing, see what kind of pops up.
Google's a big scraper.
I just want to see if it was the same result, but it's not.
Well,
Does being not confused?
Yeah. For both.
Yeah, it's the same Wikipedia page.
Yeah, it's true.
Wise Geek.
It's just looks like a latest article by Whitesea, February 7th.
Does Bing not do like the profile type stuff with the featuring info like that?
So Google's mission is to keep you on the Google platform so that you don't click on the organic results, so that you click on the ads, right? That's where they make their money. So that's why what they're doing, if you scroll up on the Google one, is what they're doing is they're trying to define words and stuff now, or they're trying to put bios of political people or whoever else right there so that you don't have to click on Wikipedia. I'm not sure if Wikipedia has approved that or not. If I was Wikipedia, I wouldn't want Google to just take my content and display it. I'd want the traffic, right? I mean, but I'm not sure. So I'm not sure, you know, Gus brought up a point earlier in the week, you know, Google, and we were going to talk about this, Google came out and said, hey, we now have a new tool that you can notify us if there's a site that's ranking higher than you that's using your content, and they call those scraper sites, right? And somebody then did this search, what is a scraper site? And you see that Google is the biggest scraper site of them all, right? And they created this whole Twitter, I mean, there's just so many people that are tweeting about it, and I don't think they've actually officially came out and commented on that, but that right there is the definition of a scraper site, a site that's using your content. So.
So let's go back to Bing Webmaster Tools. Users is where you can add others to be able to read, modify, or just read, or be full administrator on this account, so more than one person can be making changes in Bing Webmaster Tools. Next is reports and data. It gives you an overview here. You can click from search, appeared in search, pages crawled. You can get a bunch of different metrics in this graph right here.
I like the term appeared in search. I think Google probably just calls it what, impressions?
Yes.
Okay.
So appeared in search is the same thing as impressions. I think the home page got 13 clicks from search, which is up from what it was before. 1,800 appeared in search, down from what it was before. Click-through rate went up. Average click position is 1, so we get clicks from our position 1, and average search appearance position is 33.6, so most of the time that we show up, 33.6. And that's something that Google doesn't show you is the average search click position. It will give you kind of buckets and say, you showed up this many, approximately this many times in this position range, and sometimes in this position range.
Right.
And they can give you clicks of those position ranges, but it doesn't give you an average search click position.
Okay.
And you can look at the search keywords that got you that ranking. Right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so these are the keywords you're actually showing up for here, which you can get more detail in from some of the side stuff.
What's that first one there, Steve? You explained, you called it long tail, but it just confuses me. There's 3 words there that are in quotes.
Yep.
What's it trying to tell me?
Someone searched for domain age, but specifically the full phrase domain age, not domain or age separately.
Right.
And Google PageRank, but not those separately. And Alexa Rank, but not those separately in the same search.
Okay.
So this is the
without
full
the
phrase.
Or with the quotes?
With the quotes.
They did search.
This is the full phrase someone searched for.
And we ranked 45th and appeared in search 244 times.
Somebody,
So
it's appeared, yeah, so that's actually viewable to somebody that was, so 242 people actually went to the 5th page to see that.
Yep.
Seems like a lot.
It does, for that search term.
Yeah. I was going to say like 1. Something's off there. I don't know if I'm buying that.
Well, I don't know about the accuracy of the data, but
Well, I think it's the appeared in search thing that's screwing me up because the average search position seems about right? Click-through rate 0. Appeared in search 244. Is that 244 times or is that a ranking?
Oh, you know what?
no.
Why does it say up? Why is there an arrow that went up, though?
That means that it's up from the previous period. There's
That people search for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I get your point, yeah, it's, I guess, was there ever a previous period? That seems like a search,
Right.
keyword that might have been searched one time ever, but I guess we just don't know the accuracy of this. Right?
Apparently right below it, there's, just a different order. Right?
Steve,
Yeah.
research that. I'm just kidding.
it's possible that perhaps there was an article out there that was talking about the combination of these keywords and it drove a bunch of SEO people to search for them.
Yeah, well, when you looked at served pages, it'll tell you which page they went to, and that could tell you if you looked at...
Yeah, this is the one, what is a good free tool for SEO research?
So,
That's the page that showed up.
the quotes. Oh, maybe that page appeared in search
Yeah.
241 times.
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. That's
For that search query.
Right.
Yeah.
For that, for that
That
specific search query.
search query served that particular page. Those are the pages that were served when they did that search query.
Does
Mhm.
quotes mean phrase match in Bing also?
Yes.
So if that's what people were searching with the quotes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've always been told that Bing has a more educated, affluent, I don't know why they mentioned affluent, but user. So if people are searching with the phrase match search queries, then maybe that serves, that's right. They know what they're searching for and how to search.
It's interesting you said that they have a kind of more savvy users, if you will, because they also have a higher percentage of the elderly market. Because Internet Explorer is the default on the computer, and Bing is the default search engine for Internet Explorer. So a lot of those who aren't savvy specifically use Bing because it's what's there. So it is possible that they kind of have this market of really savvy and the market of really not savvy, and they really have very little in between.
Same thing with the mobile devices though too, right? Is your, by default, is it Bing? Internet Explorer or Bing?
Well, it's going to be Android. It's going to be Google.
Well, that one's Google, but some of the phones, what is the ones that,
Windows Phone
yeah,
or Bing.
same thing, Windows, you know, the pads, like the iPads or whatever. Tablets,
It's
yeah.
cool, it has an option, like, the preset options are Yahoo and Bing too, but Google's the top one. So if I just click on the browser, those are my 3 options to search from.
Yeah, that's just a feature, but by default it's Google. I'm just saying that the Windows stuff is probably by default Bing.
Yep, it is. Yeah, so you can dig into more information on each of these items. Page traffic, so the home page. Here's the information for that, and you can see the search keywords that showed up for it.
So they do display the keywords here. Did they take away the keyword transparency in the Bing analytics? Do you know?
No, they didn't.
So it's still there.
Yep. It's just even more information. So it used to be that this was amazing, and I was hoping Google would do something like this, and now they do something similar to this. It's not as robust, but it gives you real numbers now. So the Google one is not very useful, whereas before it really wasn't very useful because a lot of it was less than 10 as the impressions and less than 10 as the clicks. So like, well, then I have no idea what that is. It could be 9, and if all of them are 9, then that's a lot. But if all of them are 1, then that's not much at all.
Yeah.
Pretty detailed.
Mhm. Yeah. So the Bing one is more detailed than the Google one as far as search keywords.
Easier to read too.
Yeah, they give a lot of flat, down, up over previous period, and you can always change what the period is in this up here. So we could look at the last 6 months instead and see that clicks are up in the last 6 months, impressions are down, click-through rate is up, click search position is down, average search appearance position is up from this 6-month period to the 6-month period before that. So it gives much better comparison data, and it's just much more flexible in that sense than Google Webmaster Tools. But it gives a lot of the same kind of information. It's just more flexible, easier to read, things like that. Now, Index Explorer is really cool. Index Explorer actually crawls your site, grabs the folders, and then turns it into a directory-style listing so you can look at the pages you have in different sections. Now, in our case, most of our pages themselves are on the first level because that's really good for Google. Perhaps it's not as good for Bing. But it does provide this very nice information structure. So category, all about marketing, technology development. You can go in here, and then you can see there's a software page in here, and it tells you information about that page. So you can really browse what your site looks like according to Bing in this view. You can do a number of filters here, so you can look at only 404 error. So there must be a link somewhere to this question mark equals 5463, and that's a 404 error. And there's a couple of items in here that are 404 errors. So this is a great way to kind of explore the site and see what all is in the site according to Bing. Search keywords comes back to what we were talking about before. And this particular phrase in different orders apparently is being searched a lot on Bing. As far as to why that is, perhaps we can even just search it in Bing and see what comes up. Oh. It would appear that people are looking for a tool that perhaps does all three of those.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe that's what's going on.
I just find it so strange that it's registering pretty close.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It is very odd. but I have no reason not to think that it's.
You know why somebody's
you know
looking?
what-
I'll tell you why someone's searching for that.
I think I know why too.
They're looking for domain names. Because domain age is going to tell you, specific information about how good that domain is as far as time is concerned, how well it ranks on Google, and what the Alexa rank is for the domain.
That could be right. Also, I do that kind of stuff when doing like competitive analysis. Those are kind of variables that I would use and look at to research a competitor, right? So I want to know how old the domain is and their page rank and that kind of stuff. Could be for.
And could there potentially be another term on there that's not, well, I don't know.
And this seems to be the only one that's showing up that's kind of weird, if you will.
Look at the top right, combined traffic from Bing and Yahoo. What gets more searches, Bing or Yahoo? They kind of combined, but I'm just curious.
I think Bing gets a little bit more. But I'd have to look into that.
They don't tell you that here.
You see that? I looked at the last 3 months, and it's showing the same number. So this is a search that's risen recently in popularity.
Yeah.
They do. They'll for the last 7 days. That's interesting. So this is a recent search trend. Perhaps there was an event where someone said search these keywords. Search it in Google and search it in Bing. And
Yeah, there could have been a speaker somewhere on the page that said, check this out when you do this. And you had
And you did
1,000 people there and 250
Oh,
people
okay.
did it in the audience.
There you go. That makes sense. Now we're talking.
On Google, you can do obviously the site domain, right? You can do that on. There's probably you can do that on Bing.
You could do it on Bing.
you can do that in Bing.
Is that will that site domain will that show up as like a keyword like in the list, or will that drop off and only? Because if you do a site domain and then those 3 keywords, trying to look for those for that domain.
I'm not really sure. It generally doesn't show up in Google, if only because they only show you the top 5,000 keywords you show up for. So chances are the site searches are going to be low enough that they're not going to show up. But Google, I've never actually seen an advanced search show up in Google Webmaster Tools, so they might actually filter out the advanced searches.
Because if someone's just doing that search with
Looking
a bunch
for
of domains,
keywords, yeah,
and all the site domains drop off.
that could make a lot of sense.
Days, maybe.
Yeah.
I bet there was a speaker out there, or maybe a blog post or something that said search for this in Google and Bing and look at the difference. Because you can see the first thing that shows up for this is Google PageRank Checker, and it's all it does is PageRank.
Uh-huh.
Come over here, and you have one that checks multiple things in one tool.
Yeah.
This one also checks multiple things in one tool, multiple things in one tool, multiple things in one tool. Over here, only Google PageRank, it looks like.
Said it was a webinar, and people
Alexa
did it exactly when
So
the dude was
some of them do more than one thing, but most of them don't. So I bet it was some sort of webinar, speaker,
and everybody just immediately
pop up blog post, and a whole bunch of people searched for it in the past month.
Yeah.
To see what he was talking about. All right. Problems on the sites. This is kind of similar to the Google Webmaster Tools has a section that kind of highlights that. So we have 76 images that don't have an alt attribute. It's best to have an alt attribute. It's not critical for normal SEO, but it is important if you want to show up in Google Images. Bing also considers it a factor, but they consider it a low thing, not really a huge deal. H1 tag is missing is a bigger deal, and it says so right here. That's a high severity problem, but we have one of those. And when you click on it, they let you know which one, and that's the blog.
It's interesting that they actually tell you how high or low.
Yeah. I'm personally not too worried about the top level blog page not having an H1.
Correct, yeah.
So just because they say it's high doesn't necessarily mean that it's a critical thing that has to be fixed, but it does draw your attention to it better. Multiple H1 tags on the page is probably also blog stuff. So this page, this blog post would probably format it incorrectly. So it has more than one H1. Maybe the first one should be an H1 and the other one should be H2s probably. Something like that. It gives you just a nice overview of places where you can go in and improve what you have. Inbound links shows how many links it sees that you have. It's showing a slow but steady decline in total links. But we still have a fair number of links, and it lets you know where you have links from. I remember that one. For some reason, Paintball Atlanta, we went and played paintball there, and then they did like a blog post about us going to play paintball there and link to us.
That's the anchor text to the right of it?
I believe so. Yes.
Do you guys reach out to them to do that, or they just go themselves?
I don't.
No, they created it themselves, and then we reached out and said, "Can we get them?"
Oh, that
they
would
were
happen.
they were like, "Why do you need that?" Like they had no clue what we were asking for, but they did it.
So if somebody puts out content that mentions you, asking, because I've always been told different stuff, especially if they like you, asking them for a link is not out of the question.
Not at all. I mean, that's a big strategy that a lot of SEOs just do. They try to find mentions of you online, and then they reach out and say, "Hey, I noticed that you mentioned, this site, which is a client of mine. I just want to see if it's possible that you can actually include a link pointing back."
You can keep it completely within Google's guidelines by just saying, we also have a website. Here it is if you'd like to link to us.
Yeah. I used to do it all the time. Like when we had a PR agency that was representing us, like there's the ink. Like if you go back to our links again, Steve, go up. There you go. So so click on that Inc. one, right? So Inc. did a story about us about how to use Google Places. So they featured the story, and there was no link to us at all. So I'm like, that'd be great if we can get a link to Everspark. So I reached back out to the journalist that interviewed us. In this case, I think it was Chris. And I said, hey, we gave you a lot of good information. Would it be possible? The additional benefit that we would get would be the link from the SEO value. Would it be possible that you can include a link? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And she just put the link in there.
We work with a lot of .edus, like D1, like University of Arkansas and Alabama and stuff like that. And I thought it would be a good idea to do that, but that's kind of.
I think that's how you phrase it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you go out there and you say you really should put a link to us, and that might be gray. But if you actually just say, hey, we also have a website, it'd be great if you did link to us, or something like that, or even if it just
a really sweet email.
just in case you would like to link to us, here is our website. Especially if you have a deep page, like maybe going to someone who did link to you, but they linked to your home page, but there's a deep page that's more relevant, and say, hey, just so you know, we have this deep page that's about the specific topic you're saying about if you'd like to use that instead of the homepage link. So not really explicitly asking for the link, but rather just saying, hey, here's an option you can do in order to keep it completely white hat. But I think you could, like, Google's not going to know how you phrased the question.
Well, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to watch a video about that after this. So
I mean, Google does look at your emails, but it's a little bit of a conspiracy theory kind of thing to say that Google's going to pay that much attention to the content in your emails and actually penalize you because you phrased the question in a poor way when you were trying to get a link. But what has happened is that people have been sending mass emails to websites asking for links, and that email would get shared with Matt Cutts. And then he would say, well, this is clearly an example of they're explicitly buying links.
Yoda style, like, link, can I get yes?
all right, let's move on.
All right. Crawl information, so you can see the number of errors, the number of redirects, robust.txt exclusions, DNS failures, connection timeouts, things like that. All kind of information you can get from Google Webmaster Tools as well, just in a bit of a different format. Malware, also something that I think Bing offered before Google did, but they both offer it now. And in this case, we have no malware. One thing Bing doesn't do that Google does is let you know if you have a manual penalty. At least, like, there's not a spot to go to say, is there a current manual penalty on the site? They do have messages, however, and I would imagine you would probably get a message from Bing saying, hey, you've been de-indexed for this reason, kind of thing.
Which, between the two are more strict usually? About more.
Google's more strict. Google's algorithm is a little bit different than Bing's. So, and Google's the more popular one, so people do their black hat strategies focused around Google, so Google has to be more strict about it as a result. So keyword research, you can actually use this to get search volumes from Bing directly in here. So instead of having a separate keyword research tool like Google does, Bing Webmaster Tools actually has the keyword research tool listed in here.
Huh.
You get a lot of conflicting information from search volume between Keyword Spy and the keyword research tool. Y'all ever get that? Like basically it says one number on Google, which is way low on the research tool, and then Keyword Spy tells me it's like 10 times.
Yeah, I don't rely on Keyword Spy for.
I don't know enough about keyword spy, what do I really say?
I do know that we were paying for it for months and we never were using it. I caught that the other day.
That's what we're paying for it, so I'm trying to.
Yeah.
It looks like, on average, this search term doesn't really appear in search that much.
Is that a monthly number?
Yes. So in the last 30 days, Atlanta SEO Company hasn't really shown up in search. SEO did 36,000 times. SEO Services did 10,000 times. But specifically in Bing, Atlanta SEO Company, the full phrase, hasn't really shown up in search. So perhaps we can do the last 6 months. Last 3 months. Okay, last 3 months is the longest it'll let you do, apparently. So according to this, Atlanta SEO Company just doesn't show up in search.
What is that little S next to the keywords?
Oh, that's a dollar sign. Good to know.
Oh, okay.
Average cost per click, average bid.
See how cheap it is?
5
5 cents. Yeah.
That's pretty darn cool.
I think I just found.
If you looked at it on Google, I bet you it's probably $9.
Yeah, I mean, look at
Okay.
SEO cost. I mean,
Yeah, just the keyword SEO mainly.
sidebar is a
Okay.
nickel.
It's only 60 cents.
So wait, you can buy a mainline or a sidebar? Can you do? You can't do that.
No, I don't think
Now,
so.
Google, the main line is being in the top 3 positions in paid search, which just means you bid more if you're in the top 3 or in the main line.
Right.
In this, apparently, actually explicitly separates them. I don't know if it's a matter of everyone always wants to be in the main line, so it's the same kind of thing where you just put one bid, and if you're high enough, you show up in the main line. But Google does not give you separate prices for, being in the top 3 versus being on the sidebar, whereas Bing does.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. And then you click buy now and it takes you to the Bing ad center, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's interesting that it claims that 0 searches were Atlanta SEO Company. And I think it's a relatively low search volume in Google.
It is. It's under 10, I think.
Yeah. So perhaps because it's such a low search volume in Google, when it goes to Bing, only
Type in New York SEO Company. I'd like to see like a difference. I mean, like. If this shows 0, then I don't know if I would say it's accurate.
It's going to be blown up. It shows 0.
Yeah.
No way. Unless what he just said, unless it's just not on Bing, people are searching for SEO companies in Atlanta, and I would imagine that exact phrase
Happens a couple times.
Yeah.
but not in Bing.
Is there a minimum search for Bing too? Like I think
Under
Google
10.
goes down to 10.
Not really sure. It seems to be giving exact numbers, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not estimated and that they don't have kind of a back-end minimum.
When you perform a search on Bing, does it have that suggest tool or
thing that pops up like.
I'm sure when you're actually in the Bing Webmaster Central, I mean the
There we
Bing
go, like Atlanta, SEO, suggest something
Yeah.
comes up.
Pops up. That's like the first thing that pops up.
More than Atlanta SEO. Cardinal.
Our site's a little jacked up right now.
Yeah, we're still working on it. And this is not want to give us information.
Alright, we can move on, no big deal.
It's frozen. Oh, there it goes.
0. Yeah, something's not right with that, I don't think.
Your time.
All in New York.
Alright, why aren't you letting me click on things? There we go. Alright, Link Explorer, you can, much like there was the inbound links, you can do the same kind of thing here, but this gives you more filtering options. So you can put in the home page, explore, and then filter by
Oh, that's kind of cool.
.com. What was Inc500.com?
No, it's just ink. Or just do injury lawyers.
That's odd.
Broke it.
I broke Bing.
There it goes.
It apparently needs the www.
Yeah, I see.
Or the www.com. Well, that's odd. But
Need a link to no follow.
oh, because it was scope URL, so I'd actually do scope domain and do inc.com or www.inc.com.
Not working. Doesn't want to see it.
Apparently not. So maybe the tool's a little bit buggy.
Maybe it is no follow.
It could be a no follow. I'm not sure. I thought it was a follow link unless they changed it.
Perhaps. Oh no, it was follow.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I checked it. I'd see.
Oh, it's looking for titles only, not anchor text? Okay.
I mean, it says anchor text up
Yeah,
here.
Alright.
Might have to play around with that a little bit more. It seems a little bit buggy, because I'm pretty sure we have some links out there that say Atlanta SEO company.
I know we do.
And search engine optimization was one of the keywords that showed up in the other version.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would trust the advanced filtering options in this yet. I want to continue using the other version, the one up here, inbound links, to look at your backlinks instead.
Yeah.
There's fetches Bing bot. You can fetch a particular URL and see what it does. Completed. Here's the results. Full HTML that it found. There you go. Markup Validator, so if you had any of these different types of markups, including schema.org, then you could run the URL through this tool and see if it's coded correctly.
Cool.
SEO Analyzer, it'll give you, this is similar to the SEO guideline thing it had above the other section, but you can run it through a specific URL instead of the entire site. Missing meta language information, and there's images that don't have an alt text. So it gives you specific SEO suggestions for the actual pages that you run through.
Cool. What are those little pluses next to that? Did you see that?
How does this differ from the other report function, SEO?
The other one was the whole site, and this is individual URL.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, so those pluses are images, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can.
Yeah, analyze it shows you where the problems are.
I see. Okay, I got it. That's cool.
And then page source and original, which is going to be the same thing without the pluses.
Oh, wow. Useful.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Verify Bingbot tool. So this is actually Bingbot. So this is actually for if you see an IP address hitting your server logs a bunch of times and you want to make sure it's actually Bing and not someone else, you can grab that IP address and put it in here and see if it's actually Bing.
Okay.
Kind of an odd one, really. And then site move. Google has a feature like this as well. You can tell it what you're moving. So you can move URLs from one URL within the site to a new URL within the site, or perhaps to an entirely new domain. And in addition to through and redirects, which is really what you should be doing to make sure the transfer happens, you can also come in here and tell Bing directly that you're changing URLs from this to this.
Cool.
Theoretically should make the transfer happen faster within Bing.
Google doesn't have that option, does it?
It does for site level, not for individual URLs. But for moving your domain from one domain.
It also allows you to say, I'm not sure if I haven't seen it here in Bing, but it allows you to say that I want to use by default the www version or the non-www version, where I don't see that here.
I haven't seen that option either. All right, then messages is where it might tell you what's going on. Like if you have a penalty or something, it might tell you in here. But there's no specific place to actually get penalty information. You've got current and archive. And the only thing I find odd is that even though I'm in the Everspark Interactive one, it shows messages for all of them.
Yeah. $50 in ad spend for verifying your site. That's a lot of clicks for that.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I would encourage you guys to go and test out Bing pay-per-click. I mean, even if you just take $100 budget and just.
You're going to get a relatively low number of clicks, but you're not going to pay much for them either.
Exactly. Well, depending on what queries. I mean, like some of our lead gen lawyer site videos. I mean, our lawyer site. I mean, that might be perfect to test out. Because rather than paying $90 a click on Google, if we can get them for 12 or 13 and generate a lead, which then we can turn around and sell. I mean, yeah. I mean, why not test it? So.
Especially 25% of it's coming from Bing anyway.
Absolutely. And like to your point earlier, if the seniors are getting into accidents and they're using Bing, maybe it could be pretty successful.
Yeah. By low, I mean compared to the number of clicks you can get from Google, you're going to get a lot fewer clicks from Bing.
That's right.
But you're going to get it at such a cheaper rate that that's often okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're checking it out right now, so let's see how much it is.
Shit,
54 cents.
What? That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know if that's true.
Well, we can try.
If that's true, sign me up.
The average bid is $5.80. So people are bidding $5.80, but when it's actually clicked on, because there's not enough competition out there, the actual cost you end up paying is 54 cents.
Wow. Okay.
Look at this car accident where
we learned something big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
still $12.80.
That's still not bad.
It would be like $80, $90.
Great. Are you done, Steve?
Yep. The only last thing is that there is a Webmaster API that you can access, which will let you kind of automatically grab this information through your own programs if you want to.
Perfect. We're going to build out our own console, and maybe we can incorporate that eventually.
It'd be cool if Google and Webmaster told us the same thing. We could have one that compares side by side Google information to Bing information, or maybe it just compiles all of it together. But
thank you, Steve. All right. Can you just, I guess, when you exit out of Join.me, it'll stop the recording?
okay.